Good morning from beautiful Brisbane, Australia. How are you this morning or this evening, afternoon, if you're in the Northern Hemisphere? It's wonderful to be here with you this morning and thanks for joining in. Remember to say good day, and if you're here for the replay, give me a hashtag replay because I always like to catch up and see how you're going. And this morning, good morning. I'll just say good morning to everyone now so that I can get focused on what we're going to talk about. It's great to have you all here and say good day or say good morning to each other like you always do. It's so good to see friendships forming around the world as well. There's so many side benefits to what we do each morning. This morning I want us to be able to think about signs of depression. And the reason why, I was thinking, oh, maybe, the whole week will seem back to front. Surely we should have done this before we talked about what we've spoken about the last 2 days. But oftentimes we can recognize things that are happening internally before we are able to talk about them externally. And now I want to talk about things that we are able to see that are happening in our day-to-day life externally and give us the language so that we can begin to communicate with other people what's happening both for us externally and internally. Remember that it's important to go and have a formal diagnosis as well. It really does help. And having good medical people on our side is such a bonus. So with the mood side of things, we can feel apathy, we can feel general discontent, guilt, hopelessness, loss of interest or pleasure in activities, mood swings or sadness. Sounds like just a normal month having a period, doesn't it, girls? Sorry, I was just like, anyhow, we all know that it's not just that. It's a mood that we can't shift, all right? So I want to be very clear about this. It's a mood that we can't shift on our own. It's not something that comes and goes, ad hoc, at whim. And certainly with complex PTSD, we're dealing with it at a whole different level, all right? So even if we've got complex PTSD and we have monthly stuff happening as women, then we know that when it's monthly, and we're wise enough to know when this is hanging around for months at a time. And one of the ways I always remember this is because it took me 5 months after I had my first child to actually go to the doctor and say, hey, this isn't going away. And we know that it's not who we are. Oh my good. Anyhow, let's not go off on one of Linda's rants just yet this morning. But, as I've said before, my doctor sat there and went, no, not you. And we're strong. We already have a ton of resilience built into us, has been my thing. Anyhow, so what are we going to do when the mood won't change? Then we have to be willing to take action, okay? Please don't sit in it month after month after month and believe that it's you and it's your fault, because it's not you and it's not your fault. Remember, we've been talking about the trigger in the brain that goes off that triggers a depression and how we build that internal awareness so that we know when it goes off and we can begin to put strategies in place. Okay, with our sleep, we can be waking up early, have excess sleepiness, insomnia, or restless sleep. And it's actually a really good point, the restless sleep as well. Like we can fall asleep, then wake up 20 minutes later, fall asleep, got to get up and have something to eat, fall asleep. And it's like this whole, it's like a tennis match with sleep, isn't it? Going backwards and forwards when we think about it. Except it's not funny when it's happening, it's damn painful. And frustrating. But I want to encourage you that with complex PTSD and sleep, there are solutions. Plus, we also have to be willing to have moments and I don't mean months, I mean times when we are aware that our body wants to shift something on. And sometimes if we're go, 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 go all day, we're not giving our body time to slow down enough to process it during the day, so our sleep will be disrupted. All right, so that's something to think about in when you're evaluating what's happening for you in your sleep. I'm going through one of those times at the moment where I'm aware my body's letting go of stuff, so my sleep is restless this week, but I'm not worried about it. It'll all come good once my body's gotten rid of whatever it is it's been holding on to. And, you know, I don't stress about it anymore. I used to think it was all my fault, but now it's like, okay, we're shifting something else, and that's okay too. All right, so with our whole body, we can have excessive hunger, we can have fatigue, we can have a loss of appetite or restlessness. Have you ever felt in your whole body where it's just so restless internally? So there's no outward movement, but you just are feeling so like alert, and it is restless. It's like nerve endings are running up and down your body going awake, sleep, awake, and it's very, very frustrating. Do something that is relaxing, like have a nice spa or sit in some water or sit amongst nature, whichever floats your boat. And then, actually, that's probably an Australianism, floats your boat. Sitting in nature doesn't really add up, but it simply means whatever suits you. Do something, like consciously choose to do something that's going to ease your nervous system, okay? Do something for you that is outside the realm of normal. And believe me, the washing will wait, the dinner will wait, the kids will wait. If you have just got to go and spend even 10 minutes in peace. Now, we all know with toddlers that's virtually impossible because they follow you everywhere, even to the loo, okay, to the toilet. But we can make arrangements, all right? We can find 10 minutes just to self-soothe, all right? Oh, scalp massage sounds nice. Yeah, do you know my youngest son, Nicholas, I'll be sitting here working away and he comes along and he has the most beautiful touch and he just massages my scalp. And oh my goodness, I had no idea how relaxing it was. It's just beautiful. So get your kids onto it. Somebody. Even yourself, massage your scalp. Oh, look, you know, it would be really nice to have water running on it down the shower and then to massage it as well. That would be lovely. Okay, so behavioural, we can feel agitated, we can have excessive crying, irritability, or social isolation. I want to talk about two of these. Excessive crying is when it is uncontrollable. We keep crying and we know that there is nothing we can do to stop it. Now, that is different to when we have a body release of emotion. When we have a body release of emotion, we're getting rid of all the toxic junk we've held on to, and we will need to rest, but we get up and feel refreshed, okay? And sorry, I was just reading. Oh, Ali's giving Rachel a hard time for just turning up. Did she turn up late or something, Mum? Anyhow, so we want to be able to recognise the difference of when we're crying. And then there's also another difference, which you won't hear about elsewhere, is we can feel stressed and overwhelmed and be crying from our mind from the overwhelm. All right, and we can also be crying from our gut, not at the same time. When we have a body release, we cry from deep in our gut and it comes up and out, and that's a different set of tears again. All right, so there's three different lots we've talked about this morning. So the first is the excessive crying from the depression, which we can't control unless we go and take steps for it. There's the crying from the overwhelm. So we'll find that it's more centered around our mind, and it's like, my goodness. And the question really is, how can I manage what's happening in front of me? And then there's the crying that comes up from our gut that is like real emotional, deep emotional releases. And if we're prepared to be honest with ourselves, we can actually recognize which one's happening at any given time. All right? Now, and the social isolation, remember to be aware of when we're stuck on freeze, our actual whole internal alarm system wants us to isolate, okay? And socializing can be one of the best things, but I also want you to be aware that when we've been wounded so badly, that it takes time for us to feel our way into social situations. And I'm not just talking about going out with a large group of people. My group of people that are around me here have been aware that our friendships have been very much what I can do at any given point in time as well. But they never give up on me, and one of them, one in particular, her and her husband and I, we've joined the same gym. And the other day she said, oh, we're going to be there at this time, and I hadn't gone in the morning, so I went up and joined them. And I went and did what I do, and then she ended up coming and sitting beside me on the bike. We were just chatting away. You know what? In all my life, I've never done it. Never. I'm just so used to going off and doing things on my own. And I don't know why. Just life happened that way. But it was great. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm looking forward to when that happens again. So it's like, so my advice is, slowly but surely, and have people around you that keep saying, yeah, well, we're going to do this, and they are okay with you being the independent you that you are, or whatever. So my friends actually teach me a lot about social things that I've never even learnt yet, and it's good. So that was those two. Now, cognitive, lack of concentration, slowness in activity, or thoughts of suicide. So thoughts of suicide, always have a list of people on you, whether it's on your phone, and I can't find mine at the moment, or written down somewhere close, people that you can ring and be honest. There's been occasions when I've rang a friend and said, look, this is how I'm feeling. I don't need you to do anything, but I just need to talk out what's happening that's brought this about. And they're great. And I'm able to sit there and just let the tears roll. And times like that, it's a real deep pressure around the heart area that I let go of, and it's that connection that happens that I go, yeah, now that I've spoken about it, like the spoken word is so powerful in times like this, so that when we connect with someone, we're able to go, yeah, I don't need them to do anything, but I just needed them to listen. And the best thing that we can do as well is not put that on our friends if they're not able to do that sort of thing, but remember to see a trauma coach or a therapist so that you can get some good management skills in that area. All right, don't put it off if you need it today. Yeah. And lack of concentration and slowness in activity can be when our prefrontal cortex and our amygdala, or our whole limbic system really, aren't playing nicely together. They're separated. We're in freeze mode. So we've got to do activities to get off freeze mode and not blame ourselves. Okay? No more blaming ourselves. These are things that we can be proactive in and get our lives back on track. One step, once a day at a time, and this time next year our life will be completely different again. Depression can also cause weight gain or weight loss, and whilst I don't have anything scientifically definitive about this to say to you, because I actually haven't found information on it as yet, I believe that it's got to do with the freeze that happens with our parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. That, okay, so some of my excess weight was definitely caused from medical mismanagement. But over the years too, I've been aware that my weight can fluctuate because of when things become out of control or unmanageable in my life, and I've started to hold on to everything. So the freeze state is in play, and it wouldn't matter what I did, whether I exercised or not, unless I was working with the neurobiology at that time, which we had no language for back then. I wouldn't have been able to shift it anyhow. So be gentle, all right? Other people experience weight loss. I used to watch my mum. My mum wasn't built like me. She was built quite the opposite. I'm built like my father. And her struggle was keeping weight on. All right. Now she would have been operating in freeze state for forever and hiding it. And she couldn't keep weight on. All right. And it is how we're wired on the inside, but I will continue to look for information about it, and when I find it, I will share it with you. That's just what I've noticed through personal experience. And sometimes we're just genetically wired one way or the other too. So we don't give ourselves a hard time, we just do the best that we can. Also common is poor appetite or repeatedly going over thoughts. And depression can absolutely make us have our thoughts going round and round. I call it a merry-go-round because it's like they're going round and round and up and down all at the same time. And it can be incredibly frustrating, but what can help it is doing movement or doing something that is relaxing for you. But you've got to be willing to feel whether you're feeling safe and what feels unmanageable at that given point in time for you. So it's being real at a heart level for us about what's happening for us. For me, I know that poor appetite is never an issue. What I notice is and remember we were talking about I'm trying to identify the key things that happen when the depression trigger goes off. And one of my key things is all of a sudden I become more hungry. So normally I eat 2 meals a day and have, bits and pieces, and that's it. And I'm full because I don't have a high energy job, okay? I get to sit and write books and sit and talk to people around the world as clients, and I notice if my appetite increases that the depression trigger must have gone off, because normally I'm happy just eating what I eat. I eat what suits my body type. Yeah. Okay. Rachel says, I find my medication causes problems with my weight. Put on a lot of weight when I put on. Yeah, that's right, Rachel. And it is hard, but we can do it. It just takes time, which is frustrating. And look, sometimes we think, oh, if I knew how long this would take, I'd never embark on it. But as we go through the process with complex PTSD of dealing with the emotional stuff, the internal awareness, developing it, developing compassion, not taking on guilt. Guilt is something that I've really found with depression is prevalent, and I'm working through guilt, because it's like I've got nothing to feel guilty about, but the guilt still sits internally, and I'm aware that when it comes up. But all of these things, when managed into their right place for us as individuals, I do find the weight just starts going off as well. It just takes time, longer than so normally I'll put it in normal terms. So somebody who doesn't experience complex PTSD can go, right, if I put X amount of fuel into my body, food, if I do X amount of exercise, then I will lose weight. And it does, it happens for them. But for us, because our parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system are on freeze, makes the rest of our body on freeze, and you will find that your muscles are all tight. So how can the weight go if our system's on freeze and our muscles are tight and holding on, and our whole system isn't moving things around as it should normally? Now, I say this from experience because it's taken me a long time to shift what the medication put on for me as well. But also, I've, over the last 5 or so years, I've been very conscious of developing an awareness of which part of my body is currently feeling tight and tense. And then, I think it was yesterday I told you about, I woke up in the middle of the night and just let out this loud sound from a dream that I had about my ex-husband dying. And then last night when I was sitting in my chair, I could actually feel my feet when I opened them up and stretched them like that. They had no muscle tightness, and that is the first time that's ever happened. And I went, wow, our body really does hold on to this stuff. It was amazing. So I consciously have spent this time developing that awareness in order that I can know when things are released. So it's a good thing when our body gets the chance to process it, and our brain as well. Our mind gets to process things. And we don't stay stuck in those zones. It just means that we start to get our body back more and more and more. Yeah, that's right, Joan. It takes time to gain and time to lose. Yeah, it is. It's hard. You're welcome, Rachel. I know how hard the battle is because in the beginning of my journey, I used to think, this was before I knew anything about complex PTSD and the neurobiological stuff. Well, for starters, I could only go to gym for around 10 or 15 minutes at a time, and then I'd go back in the afternoon and do another session for another 10 minutes because that's all I could do back then. And I didn't know about all these things. And I used to think, right, if I just do this amount of exercise and I'm not overeating, the weight will just fall off. And it doesn't. Until we address the internal awareness, it doesn't just fall off for us. Because if anyone was going to do it, it was going to happen for me. And I went, wow, this is amazing. But between continuing to go to gym because it's good for lots of things, and doing the trauma-informed movement and developing the awareness of my breath and the internal awareness, it's just helping to shift a lot of things for me. And I'm grateful for that. So, yeah, it is doable, but it will take time. That's right, Diana, we do need to nurture ourselves. And sometimes I think, oh my goodness, why do I have to do this exercise? And then I go, no, I need it. My body needs it. I need it more than anything in order to return to full health. So we can do this, and we do it together. We're each other's greatest cheer squad. Okay, so if any of those things stand out for you this morning, I hope it helps, and just work on one thing. So for me at the moment, my one thing is definitely developing an awareness of guilt, and I'm asking myself questions around the guilt, like what's driving this? Where do I go from here? How do I manage it? Do I need to change thoughts? Do I need to change feelings? Etc., etc. What do I need to change in my life so that I come into a place of peace and power where I have compassion for myself and go, hey, it's okay. We can just sit in that and let it move on. Sit in it and let it move on. And we can do this. Okay, girls, thanks for turning up this morning. I hope I haven't kept you too long. And I will see you again tomorrow morning with another bundle of information, and just work on one thing once a day. Have a great day and a wonderful sleep. Bye for now.